Let's take a look at some of the awesome new manga releases coming throughout the month of November. Welcome to the Manga Buyer's Guide for November. We are a week late, but that's okay because there is a ton of exciting stuff coming out. There are 5 weeks of new releases, tons of new stuff, especially that fourth week. The fourth week is stacked with new stuff. So before getting into talking about the actual new releases, if you're new here, let me kind of guide you through what these videos are all about. First, important thing to mention is this is not a video of me talking about what I'm most excited about. It's not about me. These are videos where I try to highlight anything that I consider to be a notable new release so that I can help you and other viewers and myself to find things that we otherwise might have missed out on. There's so many new releases every month, it's easy to miss out some stuff. It's easy to miss out on some stuff that you might enjoy. But what do I consider to be notable new release? It's not about, you know, the newest volume of the popular ongoing series. I'm talking about like new first volumes, new single volumes, maybe some final volumes, box sets, special editions, stuff like that. Next, I have to note that the release dates mentioned here are subject to change. You will find a lot of stuff getting delayed weeks or months out. There are things that I talk about in this video that have already been delayed from previous months, and of course there are always things that are going to be found earlier than their official release date, but the dates that I'm giving here are the official dates, at least according to Right Stuff Anime, as of the time that I'm filming this video. Finally, this one's just a request. If you are on Twitter, you can find me at OmniCollector. And if you wind up picking up anything that I mentioned in this video specifically because you heard about it from me talking about it here, after you get the book, post a picture, go ahead and tag me, tag the publisher, to let them know that you heard about it from me on this video first. It does go a long way, and to prove that fact, I have, for the second month in a row, Yen Press has sent me a lot of the new releases so that I can show them here and talk about them and get y'all excited about them because they have some really cool books that are coming out this month. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump on into the first week of new releases. These are things that came out on the first of the month. We're starting off with the complete edition of No Longer Human by Usamaru Furuya. Now, this is, of course, Furuya's adaptation of Osamu Dazai's classic novel. You might be familiar with the Junji Ito adaptation that was released a couple years ago. This one is a different adaptation. It's more of a modernization of the story. So you can read this one and it's like a completely different experience from what Junji Ito did in his book. This has been out of print for a long time, originally released in 3 volumes. So it's very exciting to have this available again and in one really nice, very easy to read single volume. Next up from 7 Seas is Ayakashi Triangle Volume 1. This was an ecchi series that was running in Weekly Shonen Jump for a while before it moved over, I think, to Jump Plus, about an exorcist ninja who encounters the supposed king of the Ayakashi, or the leader of the Ayakashi, who transforms him into a woman. And it results in some, you know, gender-bending comedy and stuff like that. It is, like I said, it is an ecchi series, so expect that kind of stuff if you decide to pick it up. And it does come from Kentaro Yabuki, who you might know as the creator of series such as Black Cat, To Love Ru. He's the artist on To Love Ru and To Love Ru Darkness, and as well he's the artist on the Darling in the Franxx manga adaptation. Alright, next up from 7 Seas we have Let's Buy the Land and Cultivate It in a Different World. This is an isekai comedy about a corporate drone who's sent to another world where he gains a skill that allows him to use any tool to the greatest of its ability. When I read about the plot, it immediately made me think of playing like Harvest Moon 64 back in the day and getting my tool to the gold status or whatever. Would have been great to be able to start with gold. I'm sure there's a cheat for that. Anyway, moving on. Next up we have Ex Yakuza and Stray Kitten, also from 7 Seas. This one's for the cat fans. This is about Jin, a hardened ex-Yakuza member who rescues a cute kitten named Sabu out of the rain, and despite his hardened appearance, does everything he can to pamper and care for his new pet. Sounds very cute. Next up from Viz Media's Shonen Jump line, we've got Blue Box, and this was a very highly anticipated release for me, and I know for many other people. This is the currently running sports series in Weekly Shonen Jump. It is also a high school romance between a boy on the badminton team and the girl on the basketball team. I really enjoy the series. I've read the first few volumes worth of it from the Shonen Jump app. I really enjoyed it when I was reading it then. Even if you're not into sports manga, if you're into shonen romance, I think that you'll enjoy this one. And I really like the art style differs quite a bit from what you usually find in shonen romance and shonen series in general. So it was a nice kind of change of pace for Weekly Shonen Jump. Next up we have Hayao Miyazaki's Shuna's Journey. This is a beautiful hardcover of full color artwork from Hayao Miyazaki that if you enjoy Miyazaki's earlier like fantasy type movies, I think you'll really enjoy this one. But the main star here, the story is fine, but it's really the beautifully painted artwork throughout the volume. I'm just going to show a quick look at some of the interiors and hope that I don't get flagged for doing that, but you can see it's full painted artwork, every single page is full color, and it is absolutely stunningly gorgeous throughout. I highly recommend this one for any fan of Hayao Miyazaki's works. The story itself follows a prince who's looking for a golden grain that can possibly bring a better life for him and his subjects. Next up, we got a really big release from Yen Press, and whereas they sent me most of their releases this month, this one I actually purchased myself because I was very excited about it, and that is Therme Rome Omnibus. This is a massive hardcover of the entire Therme Rome series, all in one 1100-page beastly book. It does come with this blue plastic slipcover, and underneath is the nice stark white hardcover. I really love the design of this book. The only complaint that I have is that some of the blue rubs off from the slipcover onto the white book. It's easy to rub off the blue from the book itself though, but it does mean that the blue coloring will get spotty on your on the slipcover itself. The series itself is a historical comedy about Lucius, who is a bathhouse designer from ancient Rome, who gets thrust into modern-day Japan, a society who has a lot of appreciation for bathhouses. It's also got a lot of historically informative stuff in there for anyone who wants to get that kind of like real-world information about the bathhouses and whatnot. Next up from Seven Seas, we get I'm a terminal cancer patient, but I'm fine. This is a single-volume autobiography of an erotic manga creator's fight with colon cancer. This is a down-to-earth account of living with terminal cancer, and we end off the first week of the month with Attack on Titan, the final season, Part 2 box set. This is the final box set for the series, collecting volumes 29 through 34, and it comes with a bonus book of extra, like, short stories and stuff like that. Moving into the second week, on the 8th, we've got True Beauty, the both paperback and hardcover coming from Webtoon. This is a manhwa about a high schooler whose social standing skyrockets after she masters the art of makeup from watching YouTube videos. Next up from Yen Press's new manhwa imprint Eyes, we have World After the Fall. This one's about a tower that appeared years ago, but heroes known as walkers cleared the floors to save humanity until one day the Stone of Regression appeared and allowed them to go back into the past. Most people left, however, a small group called Carpe Diem decided to stay behind and represent humanity's last hope. Next from Eyes Press is Villains Are Destined to Die. This one finds a girl who wakes up as Penelope, the villainess in a very hostile game that's filled with gruesome deaths. Now from Kodansha we get Love and Lies Volume 12, and this is one that has two final volumes, the Lilina and Misaki ending. So these dual final volumes show the destiny of two brought together by either science or by fate. So you get to see how the series ends depending on who, which girl the main character ends up with in the final volume. Next up we have Beyond the Promised Neverland from Viz Media from the Shonen Jump line. This is an anthology collection. It has like five I think short stories within, all by the same creators as The Promised Neverland. So if you enjoyed that series, you might enjoy the stuff within here, but I have to warn you, only the final story, which is like 20 pages, that's the only part that actually connects to Promised Neverland. Everything else is just short one-shots disconnected from anything else. So if you're coming in expecting a lot of stuff expanding on the world of The Promised Neverland, you might be disappointed, but if you come in just wanting some material by those creators because you enjoy their works, you'll probably be pretty satisfied because there's some decent little short stories. Next from Kodansha, we get the first box set of Rent a Girlfriend. This collects the first 6 volumes of the series in a premium box with 2 large reversible posters. Then also from Kodansha, we get Go Go Loser Ranger. This is a new Sentai comedy series from the same creator as the quintessential quintuplets. I just got this one yesterday, so I haven't gotten to read it yet, but the story is set in a world where the heroes, the Divine Dragon Rangers, defeat monsters created by the Monster Army every single week, so they are the heroes of humanity. But we find out that it's actually the Rangers themselves who are forcing the Monster Army to create these monsters every week so that it can appear like the Rangers are the heroes. Next up we have the Shaman King Omnibus Volume 11 from Kodansha. This is not the final volume, there's still one more of these Omnis left, but this one is notable because it does contain material that has never before been released in English. This collects volumes 31, 32, and 33. Volume 33 has never been released in English before. If you're unaware, the series ended after 32 volumes, and then Hiroyuki Takei expanded on the ending a little bit later. That's simplifying the situation, just to kind of let y'all know what happened. So the Shonen Jump run was the complete series, 1 through 32, but now we get the expanded ending with the Kodansha releases. So even if you have the Shonen Jump stuff, you might want to pick up the last 2 of the omnibus editions from Kodansha so you can get that full ending. Next from Viz's Shonen Jump line is Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai Volume 5, which may be the final volume that we get of this series, at least for now, unless Viz decides to continue and solicit the next arc. When originally solicited, I did not catch this, but apparently they said that they were just doing the first story arc, which is collected within these 5 volumes that they've published, which is about 1/5 of the entirety of the Dragon Quest manga, which is really unfortunate if we do not get the rest of it. Hopefully they do announce that they'll do the rest of it in the near future, but until then we do have the first entire arc, Disciples of Avan, available across 5 volumes. Fingers crossed that they do more in the near future. Next up from Square Enix, I've got Tokyo Aliens. I also just got this one yesterday, so I haven't gotten to read it just yet, but the story follows Akira, who just wants to take after his father and become a police officer, but one day he witnesses a battle unfold between 2 strangers on a train who seem to have unusual powers. He soon finds himself kidnapped by an alien, and he starts to learn the truth about his father. Next up from Seven Seas, we have, this might be the longest title of the week, Though I Am an Inept Villainess, Tale of the Butterfly Rat Body Swap in the Maiden Court. By the title alone, it's kind of hard to tell what this one might be about, but there's a maiden who is forced to switch places with a sewer rat so that she can steal her position at court. Now this maiden won't let anything stop her, including her impending execution. And then finally, in the second week from Kodansha, we have a new Shuzo Oshimi book, or an old Shuzo Oshimi book, available for the first time in English, Avant-Garde Yumeko. Yumeko is obsessed with the male part, and she wants to see one, and so she joins an art class and starts drawing them and stuff like that. This is kind of typical of early Shuzo Oshimi. It's almost like an opposite companion to Devil's Ecstasy, which also came from Kodansha somewhat recently, where that one was about someone who was afraid, rather than obsessed with, was afraid of breasts, and the whole story that unfolded about that. This one's just a single volume, so this one small book is all we're going to have. And this one I also just got yesterday, so I haven't read it yet. I can't talk about it in detail, but I am generally a big fan of Shuzo Oshimi and all of his works, so I'm excited to check this one out. The one thing that I want to note is that it does not come with a short story, a single chapter one-shot story that was included in the Japanese edition, so that's kind of unfortunate, but hopefully that short story and anything else that's remaining from Oshimi in English will be published in the near future, because aside from like 3 short stories and I think just 1 longer title, which is the Drifting Net Cafe, I believe everything else has been done in English. So hopefully, or is going to be done in English, because I think we have like 1 more coming soon. Maybe, I'm not sure. But anyway, hopefully those will get done in the near future and we can have all of Shizuo Ishimi's bibliography available to us in English. Alright, next up we have the third week, the 15th. We have a few new releases. First up from Eigo Manga is Beast Code. This one is about a high schooler who can transform into a dragon thanks to his Beast Code DNA, and now he struggles with this ability and clashes with others who also possess Beast Code DNA and use it for wrong. Meanwhile, his girlfriend has special DNA that forces her to fight against anyone with the Beast Code DNA, so will they have to fight to the death? I don't know. Next up on the 15th we have Solitary Gourmet from Fanfare. This is an omnibus edition of Jiro Taniguchi and Masayuki Kusumi's classic. It's been delayed multiple times, but I am still very excited about it. Then we have Berserk Volume 41. This is due out on the 15th for the book market, but for the direct market like comic shops, this is already available, which is why I have it in hand. So this is the final volume by Kentaro Miura that he directly worked on. There is, of course, the series is continued, and it is coming from art done by Miura's Studio Gaga, under the direction of his old childhood friend and fellow mangaka Koji Mori, the creator of Holy Land. But this is the final volume of material that he was involved in. And on that note, I also want to mention that the 12th hardcover is due out in December, but similar to this, for the direct market, comic shops and stuff like that, you should be able to find it, I think, on the 8th. So it is coming out significantly early for the direct market. So if you have a comic shop nearby, you should be able to find a copy of Berserk 41 and Berserk hardcover volume 12. If you don't have a local comic shop, there are online comic shops like in-stock trades, cheap graphic novels, and I think Organic Priced Books also sells the hardcovers, all for discounted prices. Next up we have As a Reincarnated Aristocrat, I'll Use My Appraisal Skill to Rise in the World. This one's about a salaryman who's reborn in another world as a child who has an appraisal ability so he can see other people's stats and latent abilities, and he's going to try and use that to save his family's fortune. Then from Seven Seas we have Futari Escape. This one is a relaxing Yuri comedy, as it's described, about an overworked manga artist and a jobless slacker who want to escape from the realities of adulthood. I feel like most of us could probably relate to that last part there. And finally for this week we have An Older Guy's VR First Love from Vertical. This is about a 40-year-old man who lives a mundane life but enjoys playing a VR game as a female avatar. One day he meets a girl that he slowly starts to become attracted to, but who is this girl and what will become of their relationship? Alright, now we move into the 22nd, which is the biggest week of the month. So many new releases. I'm going to try and get through them pretty quickly. First up, we have the Noise hardcover from Vertical. This is finally back in print. This is the prequel to Tsutomu Nihei's series Blame, or Blam, that was released originally by Tokyo Pop. It's been out of print for a very long time, but it's finally coming back in print. One thing I do want to note, though, is that it's a hardcover edition and it's going to be standard size. It's not going to be big like the master editions that we've had for Blame, so it's not going to match up with those on your shelf, which is, I'm sorry to say that, it is a little bit disappointing, but I at the very least am very happy that it is back in print. That at least is worth celebrating. Despite the smaller size and it not matching up with the other books on the shelf. Next up is The Witcher Ronin. I believe the wide release, because this is the hardcover from the Kickstarter that was sent to me by CD Projekt Red like early this year or last year or something like that. But the wide release is coming from Dark Horse, and it's going to be a paperback volume. If you're a fan of The Witcher, even if you're not, like I don't have much experience with The Witcher via any other media except for this, and I really enjoyed this volume. It's a bunch of really fun short stories with great artwork. Just, if you don't know anything about The Witcher, it's just a guy that's going around and defeating demons and stuff. It's cool. I really enjoy it. It's just this single volume, at least so far it is, though it leaves it open-ended to where there can be more material in the future. Next up from Yen Press is Coffee Moon, and this one, I really enjoyed this first volume. I went into the first volume knowing absolutely nothing except that the descriptions of the book are very vague, so I knew that it was probably some sort of mystery going on here. It is that kind of repeating day trope that we have from stuff like, you know, Groundhog Day or Happy Death Day, stuff like that. But it's handled in a really interesting way where we're introduced to a character that has been going through the same day already for over 1,000 days in a row, and now another character is brought into this loop. So in that way, it's kind of like what was called Russian Doll on Netflix, where we have a couple characters who are experiencing the time loop together. It's very unclear about what's actually going on. Obviously they want to string you along for this mystery, but I really enjoyed this first volume. It has beautiful artwork and a really intriguing story, so if any of that sounds interesting to you, I do highly recommend picking up Coffee Moon from Yen Press. Next up from Attack on Titan, we have the 7th Colossal Edition. So not only are we getting the end of the series from the box sets, but we're getting the final of the super large Colossal Editions. Collects the final 4 volumes of Attack on Titan in that very large, oversized trim. Next up from Yen Press is Embrace Your Size. This is a comic essay by a plus-sized author who is chronicling her own journey of body positivity and learning to love herself. This one's really good if you do struggle with your self-image and struggle with having body positivity and stuff like that. I read the first quarter of the book, and it is just a nice chronicle, like it says, like I already pointed out, of her, from early years and how she was, saw herself and how others saw her, and how she adjusted her life accordingly, and how as she grew up, she kind of got used to finding things that fit her and that she fit into, and being comfortable with herself. Moving on, next up from Yen Press, so What's Wrong with Being Reborn as a Goblin? This is an isekai series about an office worker who is killed, surprise, surprise, by a truck, and is reborn into a world as a goblin. And in this world, goblins are only supposed to live for about 7 days, but he has a skill called octogenarian, and as the name suggests, causes him to be able to live for 80 years, human years. He also winds up being really popular with the other goblins and stuff, especially the female goblins. And then one day he finds someone in the woods, this guy who's dying, who turns out to be the villain of the land, and the villain passes on his powers to him. So while everyone is excited about the fact that the villain is dead, the evil ruler of the land is dead, this new goblin that's going to live for 80 years is able to carry on the abilities that this guy had. So the threat might not be completely gone, is where we leave off on after the first chapter or so. Next up, Seven Seas brings us Thunderbolt Fantasy Omnibus. This is the first of 2 omnibus collecting the manga based on the puppet series of the same name. Look up the puppets. Are it's like an action-oriented series using marionette puppet type stuff. It's wild to see them in action. There's a lot of talent that goes into that. So the plot follows a warlord who's searching for a magical sword that has the power to smite demons and shake the heavens. But Dan Fei has been guarding the sword for her entire life and must rely on the help of 2 strangers to stop the warlord from getting it. Next up from Seven Seas' new BL line is Titan's Bride. This is a BL isekai where a high schooler is sent to a world of titans where one of them decides to take him as his wife. And then from Yen Press, another BL story, we have Kurano and Kagiura. I've only read the first chapter to this one so far, but thus far it's just a wholesome school BL romance series about a couple of basketball players who are also roommates. Alright, next up, also from Yen Press, is the Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy. So there's the undead sorcerer Leonis has been transformed into a 10-year-old boy, and now must keep his true powers a secret from his new guardians while he tries to deal with monsters called Voids. This one had a pretty decent start. I'm not usually big on the isekai and stuff. I know a lot of people are kind of tired of the isekai genre, but this one had a pretty intriguing start. I like the artwork as well, and the Goblin one also was pretty interesting at the beginning, so I'm going to at least finish these first volumes and see how they go. Now from Yen Press, a single volume, The Gay Who Turned Kaiju. A teenager is bullied for being gay, and so basically runs off to the bathroom and is crying and wishes that he could just be anyone else. And instead of becoming, another person or becoming straight or whatever, He's transformed into a kaiju. Well, his head is transformed into that of a giant monster. Basically, the people around him now treat him a little bit differently because of the fact that he has a giant kaiju head. It is supposed to be a quirky look at the experience of being an LGBT teen from a prolific BL manga author. I do want to give a warning here. I've only read the first couple chapters, so I don't know where the rest of the book goes, but there is a relationship that pops up between a student and teacher, so if you are not cool with that, keep that in mind. This might not be one for you. Next up from Ablaze, we have the Zombie Makeout Club Death Wish. By title alone, I was already going to grab that one, so it didn't even matter what the plot was. But the plot itself follows a high school rebel who's brought back to life after she had committed suicide and has now to figure out how she was brought back and why she was brought back, all while she confronts the horrible memories from her past. Next up from Yen Press, we've got Touring After the Apocalypse. I really enjoyed what I've read so far of this one. It is a wholesome, relaxing series about a couple girls who are, as the title suggests, touring Japan after the apocalypse. So even though Japan is completely in ruins, that's not going to stop these girls from enjoying life and seeing all there is to see around them. Next up from Seven Seas, we have the Yakuza Fiancé. This is about the princess of the Some crime family who is offered up as a truce bride to the Miyama family leader's grandson. While Kirishima Miyama seems normal enough, beneath his smile is a violent sadomasochist who prays for his new fiancé's dominance. Then also from Seven Seas, we have You Like Me and Not My Daughter. This is about a 30-something-year-old woman, Ayako, who has been raising her niece Miyu as her own daughter for years. But now that Miyu is in high school, Ayako has to worry about boys who may want to date her, especially their 20-something neighbor, Takumi. But Ayako is surprised when she finds out that Takumi is not interested in Miyu, but in Ayako herself. Next up, we have The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic from One Piece. 3 students are transported to a fantasy world where one is given the incredibly rare healing magic. However, he's learning how to use this magic in completely the wrong way, as the title suggests. Then from Kodansha, we have the newest in their line of the 3-in-1 omnibus editions, Fire Force. So this first oversized volume from the creator of Soul Eater collects the first 3 volumes of the series. There should be 11 or 12 total volumes to collect the entirety of the 34-volume series. It just depends on how they decide to break it up. These oversized omnis, I'm a big fan of these. I just yesterday read the first of the Noragami omnibus editions. They're very easy to handle. The material that they use for the covers and the spines and stuff is flexible so that the spine is easy to open without creasing. So I'm a big fan of these, and I'm excited to get Fire Force in this edition. I had it in singles before, but I sold it whenever they first announced this was happening, and now finally it's coming out. Next up from Tokyo Pop, Serious Twin Stars. This is a GL manga, Girls Love manga, about a tennis player who has a heart attack and decides to leave the city and all her problems to live in a coastal village with her cousin. There she meets a girl who's in love with astronomy, who helps her believe that life can be beautiful again. Next up, another webtoon release. This is The Tower of God, available in both paperback and hardcover. This is about Bam, who has to climb up a tower to find his best friend, Rachel, and he makes plenty of allies and enemies along the way. And then we have, from Ablaze, The Heavenly Demon Reborn. This one follows a martial artist who is killed and awakens as a child, training to be an elite soldier of a demonic sect, so he must embrace the demonic arts so that he can seek revenge. And then we got another manhwa from Eyes Press. This one is The Tomb Raider King. This one follows, basically it's in a world where tombs have been popping up across the globe that all house these supernatural relics, and the main character is a raider who's been hiding in the tomb so that he can steal the relics. But after he's betrayed by his employer, he is transported 15 years into the past. So with his future experiences, will he be able to become the king of the Tomb Raiders? And also from Eyes is The Remarried Empress. This one, straight off the bat, the emperor declares that he wants to get divorced because he already has another mistress, and much to everyone's surprise, the Empress says, yeah, I'm down to get divorced, and as well, I want to be approved for my remarriage. Surprises everyone that she already has someone, she already had her other boo. Too bad, Mr. Emperor. Alright, next up we get from Vertical the Don't Toy With Me Miss Nagatoro box set, first box set, collecting the first 6 volumes with a bonus item. I don't think the bonus item has been revealed just yet, but we will see what it is. Speaking of box sets, if you order from Right Stuff, they just recently changed their policies on box sets where that they now do qualify for free shipping. You don't have to pay extra, you get a box set. So anything that I mentioned here, any box sets, you can now get from Right Stuff with free shipping, which is great because they were putting like a pretty hefty surcharge on those that kind of counterbalanced against the discounts. Next we got a whole bunch of delayed stuff. I'm just going to list them because they're all from either Denpa or Denpa's BL imprint Kuma. Guyabano Holiday, Inside Mari Volume 9, the last volume of that one. Rakuda Laughs, Guyabano and Rakuda are both single volume releases. Under Ninja Volume 1 from the same creator as I Am a Hero, which has been delayed since last year, but it's finally here, so finally we get this in hand. And then from Kuma, The Pet Detective Agency, and Happy of the End. And now going into the final week, we're finally done with the 4th week. The final week is much smaller. On the 29th, we have Reincarnated as a Slime Season 1 Part 2 box set, collecting volumes 7 through 11 of the series in a premium box with an exclusive art booklet. Then we have Wistoria, Wand, and Sword from Kodansha. Will wants to become a magician, but he's unable to cast even the simplest of spells, so he has to fight the dungeon monsters to earn credits at the Magic Academy, and must show a bullying professor his sword skills. Next up from Kodansha also, we have the first full-color volume of Parasite. This, I am surprised they didn't try to get this one out last month in time for Halloween, but it's all good. If you're a fan of Parasite, you might want to check this one out, see how the colors look and stuff. I know oftentimes stuff that's originally in black and white being colored does not look great though, so maybe look at some preview art and stuff before you decide to jump into it. Then we get the from 7 Seas, I get the feeling that Nobukuni-san likes me. A bookish girl has no interest in guys until a new boy transfers to her school that catches her eye. Now her friend is going to help her, so she just might have a chance at love. And finally, we end this massive month on In the Clear Moonlit Dusk from Kodansha. A girl has always been seen as a guy meets another guy in her school who helps her to be seen for her true self. That was a lot to go over. This is one of the longer of these manga buyer's guides, but there's a lot of fun and awesome stuff that's coming out throughout the month. A lot of stuff that I'm excited about, a lot of stuff that I've already picked up that I've already enjoyed. November is shaping out to be a really great month, so let me know in the comments down below what new releases are you looking forward to the most, whether it's something that I covered in this video or not. Let me know which book you are wanting to pick up, and if there's anything that I talked about here that you were previously unaware of, let me know which books I might have helped you decide to pick up. I'm really curious about what y'all are looking at picking up this month. Anyway, thank you so much for spending time with me. If you're new here and you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so you can be notified of all the awesome videos that I put out every week. If you're not new here, thank you again for spending the time with me. I always appreciate seeing you in here, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace out.